The most important conversation is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, you go to bed with it. Eventually, you act on it. Sometimes you act on it good, sometimes bad. You got to change the internal dialogue. That person in your head that's talking that shit to you, until you change the internal dialogue in your head, until you callous over the victim's mentality that the world is out to get you because of you are the only, you got to change that shit, man. I once had that mentality that no one understands what the fuck I'm going through. And if you keep that mentality, you're going to stay in the same exact spot that you're in, that no one understands me. There's millions of people. Why do you think a book that I self-published, is doing so well with a story that's so fucked up? People are like, I'll never forget when I went to a publishing house, like, who's going to resonate with this story? No one's going to buy this book. I'm like, are you not in the world? Are you not in society? You're never alone. Everybody's going through shit. So when people get this mentality of like, you don't understand me, you can throw a fucking rock to someone that can understand you if they're willing to break themselves down and stop hiding. A lot of people understand you, but you got to stop hiding. And that's why I tell people, a lot of people are going through shit. They just hide better than you did. That's all they did.
Suffering is built into the structure of existence in some sense, and the fact that you're suffering doesn't mean that there's something isolated about you that's at fault. Everyone makes mistakes, and it's a way of universalizing everyone's felt sense that they don't live up to their responsibility properly, because you're not all you could be. And unless you understand that that's everyone's problem, every single person has that issue, then it's easy to become discouraged and crushed by that. And so the optimism is nested in the pessimism, and that's extremely helpful to people, especially people who are struggling, because they think, oh my God, life is so difficult, I don't know if I can stand this, there must be something wrong with me. Does anybody else feel this way? And you can say, yes, everyone feels that way at some time. But and it is as bad as you think, but you're more than you think you are. Like, everybody is a strange mixture of victim and victimizer. Lots of terrible things happen to people that aren't justifiable in some sense. Where you're thrown into existence as a consequence of your birth, that's the existentialists, especially the 1950s, talked about that all the time. They talked about it as thrownness, that you're sort of thrown into reality with your particular set of predispositions and weaknesses. And then there's going to be times in your life where things twist in a manner that's unfair to you, that you're not getting your just deserts. But that goes along with all sorts of unequally distributed privileges as well. And so that's the arbitrary nature of existence. But you can't allow those sorts of things to define you, because it's not that useful strategically. When you're playing a card game, you're dealt a hand of cards. Yep. Well, what do? You play the hand the best you can. Why? Because all the hands are equal? No, because you don't have a better strategy than playing the hand that you're dealt the best you can. And that doesn't even mean it'll be a winning strategy, but because people don't always win. Sometimes we lose, and sometimes we lose painfully, and sometimes we lose painfully and unjustly. That's not the point. The point is, you don't have a better strategy, and neither does anyone else. If you take someone who's doing quite well in life and you scratch underneath the surface, you generally don't have to scratch very far until you find one or more profound tragedies of the past, or perhaps of the present. No matter how well protected you are in the world, you're still subject to illness, you're still subject to aging, you're still subject to the dissolution of your relationships, the death of your dreams, death itself. So vulnerability is built into the structure of existence. Now, if you start to regard yourself as a hapless victim, or even worse, an unfairly victimized victim, well, then things go very badly sideways for you. It's not a good strategy. You end up resentful, you end up angry, you end up vengeful, you end up hostile. And that's just the beginning. Things can get far more out of hand than that. So strategically, it's a bad game. It's better to take responsibility for the hand that you've been dealt. Those who have swords and know how to use them, but choose to keep them sheathed, will inherit the earth. And that's a much better idea as far as I'm concerned, because it means that you have a moral obligation to be strong and dangerous, both of those. But to harness that and to use it in the service of good. So it's associated with a complex set of ideas. We wouldn't have to think if empathy guided us properly, but it doesn't. It guides us properly in some very specific conditions. It can also make us very dangerous because, and there's good experimental literature on this, if you're very sensitive to an in-group's claims, whatever they might be, that makes you very hostile to perceived out-group members.
I realized for myself was I wanted that comfort zone that everybody looks for, that pat on the back. They don't want to hear all the bad shit. They want to hear everything that they're doing right. And I realized that's what kept me in this world. That's what kept me in this world of not accomplishing anything. So what I did was I became that big, bad, nasty motherfucker that you don't want to walk into at nighttime. I became the roughest critic in the world on myself. And that's what changed me. I literally saw myself in the mirror. I saw the truth versus saying, my dad did this to me from beating me. Kids in school from calling me nigger did this to me. My life did this to me. My fucked up, broken foundation did this to me. I took that and said, you know what? Well, some people may help this happen, but now I have to own this. No one's gonna come back to save me. No one's gonna come back on this fucking couch and say, hey, it's okay. You're gonna be okay. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna be okay. I had to realize I had to take a stand. I had to make a real stand. And it was painful to look at who I was, what the world and myself created. It created a very lonely, depressed, insecure man that would do anything just to have a friend. And I saw that as very pathetic. When you look at the truth, it becomes very ugly and pathetic.
Anybody who believes anything other than this is all my responsibility, that I can, extreme ownership, that I can change and get a different result. If you believe anything other than that, you're never going to reach your full potential. Now, the story I used to tell people, and it gets me in trouble, so hey, I'll get myself in trouble here really fast, is let's say that you're in your car, you pull up to a stoplight, there's a car in front of you, a car to your left, a car to your right, you look in your rearview mirror and a drunk driver is barreling down on you. You go to honk your horn, the car dies, doesn't make any noise, the guy plows into you. Whose fault is that? Everyone's gonna tell you that that's the drunk driver's fault, including the insurance company, by the way. Even the insurance company is just gonna be like, yeah, that was his fault, and they're gonna pay out, and everybody's gonna say, what an asshole and all that. And I'm gonna say, without feeling badly about myself, yes, well, it's his fault, I still could have done something differently and gotten a different result. And that's what I wanna focus on. I wanna focus on who now should take responsibility so that this doesn't happen again. Should I turn to him and hope that he and everybody else never drinks and drives again? It's one option, and a lot of people spend their lives there. The other option is to say, well, I could have done something differently. I could have not gotten in my car. I could have not pulled into a kill box so that if I saw somebody coming behind me that I could have had an escape route. I could have made sure that I kept my car up so that I could have at least honked to try to warn him. There are a lot of things that one could do. Now, when I first wrote an article about that, I thought people would be like, oh my God, Tom, this is brilliant. Thank you so much. And of course, they flipped the fuck out. And they were like, you're victim shaming and all that. And I'm like, what? I'm not victim shaming. I'm saying if it were me and I were hit by a drunk driver, I wouldn't spend time thinking about the drunk driver because it doesn't help. So my thing is, what are your goals? The only thing that you should believe or do is that which moves you towards your goals. So if lamenting and feeling broken inside because I was victimized by somebody is going to move me forward, then I will do it. But my gut is that'll take me to a dark place. It won't put me in a position to think and act and try to be strategic and make more useful decisions in the future. So I'm just always trying to put myself in a position where I'm like, how do I get out of this problem? Rather than the problem is overwhelming, it's like, this problem is solvable. And if people always start with that, this problem is solvable. Now we may disagree about how to solve the problem, but we're at least in the right frame of mind. There's not the hopelessness. There's not the, this is forever, we're stuck. It's, okay, cool. What can I do? How do I improve? How do I get myself out of this? And so when they talk about in the coddling of the American mind that whatever the 6 things that are leading to them a generation of people that were raised with really good intentions but really horrible outcomes, it's like, for them, it becomes just a quest of mindset. Like, you just have to change your mindset. I had an equally dysfunctional mindset when I was young. I changed it and everything in my life changed. And so without blame or, I mean, look, I haven't had kids, so I don't know that I can be blamed for passing that on or not, but people have been given sort of a general sense of how to think culturally that I don't think moves people towards their individual goals. So to me, it's about breaking down responsibility into the smallest subset, which is the individual. And then there's so much power and joy to be had out of that.